on first. By the way, I've been doing this for quite a while, since 6 years ago. I filed my first honest tax return, and after doing that, I got all my money back plus interest, and the IRS has basically fucked off, and that's it. Okay, and if you want to, if any of this is a problem with your understanding, just watch my channel. You'll get the hang of it. It's very easy. Let's start with, like, 1 is how to do it, 2 through 6 is why it works, 7 and 8 shows how I did it and what the IRS did, how they gave me back my money plus interest, and then there was a bunch of ones that talk about guns and property taxes, and then a few theoretical ones, and then these are what the basics of statutory law, and then I'm fighting a gun charge currently, so I'm a pre-trial felon for a gun crime in Mass. But I'm about to take them down. So, just so you know, last Friday I went to court and I told them, listen, your license is a professional license, and here are the reasons: 1, 2, 3, and they completely shut up, right? And the prosecutor has made 0 remarks since that time.
Nice.
And I'm telling you, this is going the right way. Anyway, so let's go to these 3 videos which we'll watch. The first one is called the tax on federal income. The basic idea is that what we call the federal income tax is the tax on federal income. It is not the federal tax on your income. It's a very simple statement. Second video is going to show that the tax on 2 words, service and property, have constitutional meanings, and that means government service and government property, and that's it. If you don't have government service, if you didn't do government service, or you didn't have government property, you don't have a tax to pay. And this one shows you how to deal with the false reports that's going on. So let's just begin and see how we go. Well, I don't know, where's the volume on this? Does this connect to the volume?
And then there's a turbo catch.
Yeah. How do I get the volume on there?
I think you have to select the external speakers, go to your command center.
Oh, okay, yeah. Here?
Yeah, so
Yeah, go to the sound settings and go to
go
speaker.
to the sound settings. Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
and it's not gonna come out through the HDMI.
See.
Point the microphone at your laptop, use your internal speakers, and we'll make it work that way. Because I don't have time to do my job.
Cannot connect to living rooms. I could just do the.
That's right.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Well, in that case, I might as well just give you guys a talk.
Let's see how well the sound comes across, and then we'll decide.
Presented to the American people in March 2023. So the federal income tax is the tax on federal income. It is not the federal tax on income. And today we're going to provide clear and convincing evidence, starting with current and historical records. In 1862, here's the first tax return. And in the first tax return it says, it is a tax under the excise laws of the United States. The current version can be found on the IRS website for the next year, which is 1863, and it says exactly the same words. It is a tax under the excise laws of the United States. Let's have a look at the Senate congressional records. Here it is. I'm going to blow up the first part and the second part, and I'm going to quote it. And on June 16, 1909, President Taft wrote, "The decision in the Pollock case left power in the national government to levy an excise tax, which accomplishes the same purpose as a corporation income tax. I therefore recommend to the Congress an amendment to the Constitution conferring the power to levy an income tax upon the national government." And that's the origin of the 16th Amendment. Notice it is an excise tax, and it is an income tax levied upon the national government without defined as remuneration for services of an employee for his employer. And the word employee means a government employee, and the word employer means the person whom a government employee performed any service, meaning that the employer is government. So wages is government pay for government service, and that's how simple it is. If you consented to receiving wages, then you consented to the federal income tax. Here's more statutory proof. Section 1402 says the term net earnings from self-employment means the gross income derived from any trade or business, and the term trade or business includes the performance of the functions of a public office. So then, what is net earnings from self-employment? Obviously, the term net earnings from self-employment means the gross income derived from the performance of the functions of a public office. And what kind of income can you get from the performance of the functions of a public office? Government income, of course. So if you consented to deriving net earnings from self-employment, then you derived government income, and you must pay the tax on federal income. If net earnings from self-employment means the gross income derived from the performance of the functions of a public office, then what is gross income? Obviously, it means income derived from a public office. Therefore, gross income includes income derived from a public office, which is obviously government income, which is federal income, and therefore taxable income. So if gross income equals federal income is equal to taxable income, then what is the tax on gross income? Well, it's obviously the tax on federal income, and not the federal tax on income. Okay, now we're going to prove this using elimination. So in United States versus Ballard, the court said the general term income is not defined in the Internal Revenue Code. What is defined is gross income. And in Eisner versus McCumber, it says Congress cannot by any definition it may adopt define income because it cannot by legislation alter the Constitution from which alone it derives its power to legislate. So if the term income is not and cannot be defined, then what is the subject of the tax? The law is the definition and limitation of power. And if the power is not in terms granted, it does not exist. So if the subject of the tax cannot be income, then it must be the tax on federal income. Therefore, the federal income tax is the tax on federal income. It is emphatically not the federal tax on income. Okay, let's look at the 1040 instructions, where you'll find numerous references to the federal income tax. Now what you will notice that each of these references indicate that the word federal is not capitalized. And the significance of it not being capitalized is that federal is an adjective and therefore describes the next word, tax. It is not a possessive pronoun. Thus, following the standard rules of English, we can safely say that the federal income tax is the tax on federal income. Now, sometimes you get this counter argument like, well, the federal income tax is the federal tax on income, much like the state income tax is the state's tax on income. If that's true, then what is income? Do you mean 16th Amendment income? Because that's the excuse that the IRS uses to steal your money. Okay, fine. Then the federal income tax is the federal tax on 16th Amendment income, where 16th Amendment income is the corporate excise tax of 1909. Who says? How about the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court says that the 16th Amendment income has been taken to mean the same thing as used in the corporate excise tax of 1909, and that generally income means a gain derived from capital or from labor or from both. So I believe this is clear and convincing evidence that the federal income tax is the tax on federal income. It is emphatically not the federal tax on income. This simple truth means that most people are not subject to the federal income tax, and only people who benefit from the federal privilege are subject to the tax. To find out more, watch how to file an honest tax return and let the truth set you free. Thank you for watching.
Any questions on that? Is it clear that the federal income tax is the tax on the federal income that you allegedly received? Is that clear? It's crystal clear, should be, right?
Yeah. What's the definition of federal, like, what's an example of federal income?
So federal income includes wages, right? Anytime you see the word wages, that means what an employee receives from an employer, where an employee is defined as one that performs service for the for the government, basically, okay? So the word wages mean government pay for government service. Anytime you see wages on your tax forms, it means government income. Another thing that was shown on the video is net income from self-employment. You ever notice, like, if somebody's asking you what do you do for work, and especially if they're the government, they always like tempt you with how much wages do you make? Are you self-employed, right? Well, that's not by accident. When they ask you the question, are you self-employed, they're trying to gain you in to consent to the idea that you receive net earnings from self-employment. So never use those words, okay? So you work for yourself, you labor for yourself, okay? You do not have wages. You receive earnings from your labor. And so now we're going to go to the next video, which describes service and property. So we'll do that right now. Oh, any questions? It's easy, right? So far, so good.
I mean,
Yeah, it's super easy.
I feel like I need some time to let this marinate. You know?
So the truth is that the federal income tax is the tax on federal income. It is emphatically not the federal tax on income. If it's truly the tax on federal income, then naturally it is the tax on federal property and federal service. So in this video, we're going to show that where the word property or service is used in the Internal Revenue Code, property means government property and service means government service. It is elementary law that every statute is to be read in the light of the Constitution. However broad and general its language, it cannot be interpreted as extending beyond those matters which was within the constitutional power of the legislature to reach. And so, there are two properties defined in the light of the Constitution. The first, in Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2, means the property belonging to the United States, in which Congress shall have the power to dispose of and make all needful rules and regulations. And secondly, it's the life, liberty, or property guaranteed by the Fifth Amendment and private property, which shall not be taken for public use without just compensation. Property can only mean property belonging to the United States because it's the only property that is within the constitutional power of the legislature to reach. And Congress cannot change the definition of property. That's because every word in the Constitution must have due force and appropriate meaning. And the Constitution is a written instrument. Therefore, its meaning does not alter. That which it meant when adopted, it means now. Also, words must be read in the gloss of the experience of those who framed them and would receive the significance of the experience to which they were addressed, a significance not to be found in a dictionary. Therefore, Congress cannot invoke the sovereignty of the people to override their will as declared in the Constitution, and they cannot redefine the terms in the Constitution from which alone it derives its power to legislate. Thus, property is property belonging to the United States, and it means government property. And property, when used in the Internal Revenue Code, cannot mean the life, liberty, or property, nor private property as secured by the Fifth Amendment. Now let's talk about service. What is service? And what does the light of the Constitution reveal about the meaning of service in the Internal Revenue Code? The light of the Constitution in Article 1 says that congressmen shall receive a compensation for their services. At Article 2, the president shall receive for his services a compensation. Article 3 says judges shall receive compensation for their services. And Article 1 again, the militia may be employed in the service of the United States. So we know that the armed services is a service, and we also know that the postal service is a service, and also the secret service, the marshal service, housing service, ocean service, research service, inspection service, nutrition service, and on and on. And so we have all these services in the United States government, and I conclude that service means government service. Now let's have a look at the statutory evidence for the term service. For example, a W-2 is authorized by 26 U.S.C. 34(1), and the term wages mean remuneration for services. 1099s are authorized by 26 U.S.C. 6041A, which service recipients must remunerate services performed. And a service recipient, also known as a person, is any government unit and any agency or instrumentality thereof. Also, gross income includes compensation for services. Therefore, service means government service, and service is not the same thing as labor. So in conclusion, property means property belonging to the United States, and service means service of the United States. In other words, if you had no property belonging to the United States, then you could have had no gains on property, and therefore no capital gains tax. And if you didn't perform a service for the United States, then you didn't receive compensation for services, and there are no wages to be taxed. To see how this all works, watch Honest Tax Returns, first published in December 2016. Know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Thank you for watching. 16.
All right, any questions?
So, like, if you're like a contractor, private military contractor or something, you build roads, or you, I don't know, sell toilet paper to the U.S. government. Is the money they give you then taxable then?
So it all comes down to the phrase, property belonging to the United States. If I'm the government and I give you money to build a road, you've received property belonging to the United States, and you're fully taxable on that. Secondly, property belonging to the United States also includes rights. Guys, can you hear me back there?
Yes.
Okay. It also means rights. For example, the government gives you entitlements of incorporation. How many of you own an incorporation or incorporate something, you know? Many of us, right? So if you've taken an incorporation, you've exercised a property belonging to the United States, and that property is the right belonging to the United States to provide the entitlement of perpetual existence of your corporation, limited liability, and a trademark, for example. So therefore anything that you earn using that vehicle, using that corporation, is also property belonging to the United States. So it's like if I said, hey, you can borrow my lawnmower and make money from mowing people's lawns, but I get a 10% cut. That's a completely lawful thing because you're using my property, right? So when you incorporate, you're also using the property of the United States. If you are a private contractor, and let's say you're a private contractor that works for Blackwater, and you go overseas and you spend 6 months and you get like 200 grand or whatever. Question, is that property belonging to the United States? Yes or no? How many said yes?
Well, assuming it's the federal government that paid Blackwater, that paid you, which it probably is, then yeah.
Okay, that's actually wrong. Because see, this is how it works. The United States government gave property to the United States, to Blackwater, which became property of Blackwater. When Blackwater pays you, you don't have to pay a tax on that anymore. However, Blackwater will take away from their taxable income the deduction which they paid you for. You see what I mean? Okay, just like, and that's basically how it works. Any other questions on property or service? Yo.
Is letting the LLC lapse enough to get out of that?
So, the way that most people use their LLCs is ass backwards. Because most people open an LLC and they try to gain limited liability for the work that they do. For example, if I open up a hamburger store, right, and I call it Bear's Burgers LLC, then any money which flows into Bear's Burgers LLC is taxable.
Yeah.
However, if I just did it the other way, if I called it Bear's House LLC, and I put my house in it, and instead I served burgers with a sign that just says Bear's Burgers outside, guess what? That money came to me. It didn't go to Bear's House LLC. Therefore, it's not taxable. You see what I'm saying? You gotta switch the structure of the LLC such that it's not in commerce actively.
Okay.
You want the LLC in order to hold your assets and give it liability protection and give it, transferability to your family members and so forth. But you don't want your LLC to be raw dogging commerce, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I think. Okay, so that's that. So, remember, yeah, your question, sir.
Yeah, I'm just curious, why would Congress pass the laws that only tax federal employees, not the rest of us?
Okay, because, again, it comes out of the Constitution. Congress shall have the power to make any rules or needful regulation respecting its property, respecting its territory, or other property belonging to the United States. That's all the taxing power the
The
United States
16th Amendment
has.
says that Congress can lay and collect taxes on incomes
Yeah,
from whatever source derived.
correct. And as we know from that Supreme Court decision, income in the 16th Amendment means 1909 corporate excise tax. Okay? That word income does not mean normal income. That word income doesn't mean your income. That word income in the 16th Amendment means income that is corporate excise tax of 1909.
Well, let me interject. I think it's important to say, by the way, I'm the host. Thank you for coming, everybody. Jason Garrett. All right. The key part about this is, constitutionally, direct taxes from the federal government have to be apportioned. So if they need
What does that
$1 million,
mean exactly?
hold on. So if they need $1 million from New Hampshire, and it's technically a million people in New Hampshire, they go, okay, $1 per person. And the rationale behind that is that you can't tax California more than you tax in Kentucky, because now you have a per person amount that's owed, and it keeps the federal government under normal size constraints. Does that make sense? Does everybody kind of understand? So excise taxes can be willy-nilly. You want to smoke weed? $500. You want a luxury car? But you know what I mean? Luxury taxes, excise taxes are a cut of the action, but they're for items you don't necessarily need, alcohol, tobacco, etc. But me working for you, for Bear, has nothing to do with the federal government. Does that kind of make sort of sense? So that's what the 16th Amendment does. It deals with excise taxes. It does not deal with direct taxes, which have to be apportioned according to the Constitution.
Right, and Article 1, taxes on, duties, imposts, and taxes. Duties, imposts, and taxes all mean indirect taxes. A duty is something that you collect as a cut of entry into your report. Same as an impost. And in that case, in the same line of wording, same as the word tax in that line. Yes, sir.
So it would be up to the states to tax individuals basically, as long as they're not getting paid from the federal government.
Correct. So the states have the right to make direct taxes on their citizens. The federal government has no such right, but has the right to have an apportioned direct tax. If it even, it's never been that way, but constitutionally it's possible. Yeah.
And a follow-up, so what about state employees?
So state employees, most state employees fall under the federal corporation.
Okay.
So they are under the United States, subsidiary corporation, let's say of Florida or whatever, New Hampshire, etc. So they if you make government money, if you do government work, then just to be safe, pay the tax on it, right? But if you're doing private work, it's not privileged with respect to the government, then I think it's your right to keep it. It's very similar to the libertarian perspective that you own your body and everything that comes out of it, including your labor and your production and everything. You take responsibility for all the good and all the bad, right? If you shit on the floor, clean it up.
By the way, whoever
One more thing, so kind of like the Blackwater thing, so what if you have an LLC and you get state funding through some sort of other agency, like a nonprofit that gets the state funding and decides where it goes type of thing?
Well, the question is always, who did that property belong when you received it? If it came from the government, you're taxable. If it came from some crazy corporation somewhere, then that's their problem, it's not taxable,
Gotcha.
okay?
Let's go to the last video and then we'll just wrap up.
Yeah, there's only gonna be, these
It's only like 3 minutes or something.
so it's only 4 minutes,
This is
really.
pretty much the closest thing to artificial intelligence in trading. This robot meets close America. Today I'm going to talk about the tax on false reports presented to the American people in March, the year 14 after Bitcoin. So the truth is that the federal income tax is the tax on federal income. And that means the tax on federal income may be lawfully avoided by abstaining from the benefit or avoiding the privilege on which the excise is imposed. The revenue laws relate to taxpayers and not to non-taxpayers. The latter are without their scope. No procedure is prescribed for non-taxpayers, and no attempt is made to annul any of their rights and remedies in due course of law. So let's talk about avoiding federal income. First of all, you must avoid wages, because wages mean compensation for services. And unless you perform a government service, you didn't get wages. Also, I would avoid the term self-employment, because that means the gross income derived from a trade or business, which is the performance of the functions of a public office. Also, avoid gains on property, meaning if you don't have property belonging to the United States, you cannot have gains on such property. And at all times, avoid all forms of anything called gross income, because gross income is the 16th Amendment income, which is the 1909 corporate excise tax. Most of all, though, don't let anyone else claim gross income on your behalf if they didn't, in fact, provide any federal income. That is, if you're paying federal income tax, then either you are paying the tax on your federal income, or you're paying the tax on falsely reported federal income. Here's how it works. You have a right to work, and work means the exchange of labor for pay. In principle, there can be no difference between the case of selling your labor and the case of selling goods. You have a right to labor and other services which are exchanged for money or other forms of property. Labor itself is not taxable. The property which every man has in his own labor, as it is the original foundation of all other property, so it is the most sacred and inviolable. The patrimony of the poor man lies in the strength and dexterity of his own hands, and to hinder this employing his strength and dexterity in what manner he thinks proper, without injury to his neighbor, is a plain violation of this most sacred property. Let's have a look at the present day matrix. The man who hires laborers believes that he has employees. The man who labors for pay believes that he has an employer and that he is receiving wages. And none of those things are true, because as you know, an employee is a government employee, an employer is the government, and wages are government pay for government services. And the IRS is merely the bad cop who is waiting for a false accusation. So to the man who hires workers, I suggest that thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. And to the worker who labors for pay, thou shalt not allow a false accusation to go unchallenged. It is your choice to file an honest tax return or a false tax return. And honesty is not a choice. Honesty is the law, as the tax forms must be signed under penalties of perjury. Therefore, you have an affirmative duty to correct the record so that it reflects the truth. Here's how Bear Arms does his tax return. He writes down his street, his city, and for the state, he writes down without the United States because he knows that he's not within the District of Columbia. He's in fact in a foreign country called the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And of course, because he did not have government property, he did not have any virtual currency. He received no wages, he has no gross income, he has no taxable income, and therefore he pays no tax, and he owes no tax. His occupation is discharged from service since his discharge from the Army, and his spouse's occupation is that she did not perform any service. Notice the digital assets question. It says, did you receive as a reward, award, or payment for property or services any digital assets? Of course, the proper answer, now that you know what property and services mean, is no. Thanks for watching my channel. If you have any other questions,
That's about it? All right, any questions, just throw them at me, I guess. Go ahead.
So I've been, getting my tax returns done since, I was 18 for jobs I've had. So if I start doing this now, can the federal government come back and say I was committing perjury then after I make that argument on those past tax returns?
Well, you weren't committing perjury because
Or
you were
not perjury, but like
you were not willfully making false statements. First of all, secondly, they were benefiting from that, so they have no real say in how. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, and secondly, they were basically deceiving you to giving them property, right? And they're basically calling out their own lies, so I don't think they want to do that. What is better for you to do is going forward, number one, to correct your status with respect to your W-4s. I've actually got, let me,
Well, I'll tell you now that you know, you would be.
yeah, right. So
All right, let me interject real fast. So what happens when things go south? That's the question, right? So you file a corrected tax return saying 000, 0, go. Anyway, so it's funny, I got this in the mail the other day so it's postmarked April 4th, and it's supposed to be a scary letter from the IRS. So what's interesting is we didn't talk about this. Let me do a little history, a little trip back in time for a second. So in 2007, I was involved with a standoff, federal income taxes up in Plainfield, 10-month, ended up doing 12 and a half years. While in federal prison in New Jersey, just sitting in my bed listening to the oldie station one night, I hear some people talking about the federal income tax and how it doesn't apply to you and all this other stuff. I'm like, what the hell's going on? So it turns out this guy, Willie Shields, he has a radio show on 92.9 or 92.1, whatever, we still talk, but 92.1 down near Vineland, New Jersey, where I was at, near Atlantic City. He's actually in Delaware, but he's talking about Pete Hendrickson, who wrote this book. I have some over there. But all of the information that you need is available online for free, including a ton. That's how we both came into this through this, and then after came this. But there's thousands of people who have testified to, hey, look, I got my return back, here's the money they owed me, etc., etc. It's not rocket science, it's simply a formulaic kind of process. So when they send you said scary letter, all you got to do is look at the top and you go, okay, what letter number is this? Boom, this is 3176C. I don't know if you want to go to Lost Horizons if you could, but that'd be cool just to show people. So you can actually go to the website, just put this in the search bar. I called Willie the other night when I got this, like, oh man, because I know this thing was coming up. So somebody probably just like, angry letters launched, choo. So yeah, this is in regards to my 2021 return, which I can show you. I just didn't want to put it up there to Social Security number. I already got credit issues and that's But the funny part about it is that it doesn't actually cite any law. It doesn't cite anything. It's completely phony. I'll wait till he pulls it up.
wait, hold on.
I just want to show him how easy it is, the website. Just in the sense of, okay, it's annoying when you get in this whole mix, you go, I don't know what's going on. And there's all these technical terms and specialized definitions, which is how the IRS gets us worn down and just to the point like, all right, just take the money. I just don't even want to deal with it. And then you have the people that just don't realize what's going on and come when their returns come in the mail, they're all excited that they made money. They just stole them out. We were talking about that earlier, that's insane to me. How people get so excited.
Here's your crumbs back.
Can you go to the search bar? So just to show you how easy this is, and then right in the search bar, please type in 3176C. And then you can just go to this one or this one. It makes you go out of the website when you search through it. I don't know why.
Oh, you're talking about all the people?
Yes. So
Oh.
they'll just show you the letters that people send back in response, and included. That's just one example. But
Yeah, so if you go to actually the homepage,
well, it's just easier to search for. But either way, the point is, there's support and there's a lot of other people already going down this path. He's not the only person doing it. And I'll let him finish up his presentation, but I want to talk about some of the stuff I think we can do from the State House angle, which I think is important. Just letting people know what's going on. In the sense of, I want to make it where I have to give permission to, I want to work through the big box stores first, because I think those employees already hate life to begin with. But I want to go to them and say, hey, give this to your HR department. And boom, this says, I don't want to pay into this fake thing. I know Social Security is a fraud. There's no money left in it. I'm done. I'll deal with my own retirement. I'd rather take money and bury it under my bed than to wait for Social Security to come save me. Like that's.
So these are all the documented victories, by the way. It goes all the way back to whatever, but there's like thousands of them. You can click on any one of them, and there's this guy getting his check back for 15 grand, you know. Just go to any other random one here. There's another one for Alex and Brown, whatever. Another one. Oh wait, they're saying.
So you're saying I can get back
No,
everything I paid in my whole life?
Yeah, how far back?
3 years. 3 years.
3 years.
I want to correct that actually. The 3 years is statutory, okay? But there is no statute of limitations if you can prove fraud.
Mm.
Okay, so 3 years easy. 3 years easy.
Potentially every day.
Lifetime with a little bit of work.
Yeah, okay, so basically, remember that situation where I had the employer basically falsely accusing the quote-unquote employee of having wages? Well, what you gotta do is you gotta go up to the person that you work for, and you gotta write them an email and be very gentle and nice and say, hey, am I a government worker? And of course she's gonna laugh at you and say, no, of course you're not a government worker. Did I do any service? No, of course not, right? And are you a government company? You know, you ask them about 3 questions over the course of like a week, right? And now you got them on the as documented private non-government companies. So then you say to the company, okay, then you're on notice that what you're doing is wrong, and I don't want to, you know, because I'm working for you, I don't want to cause any problems, but you're on notice. And then now when the IRS sends you paperwork, then you send the IRS and you say to the IRS, listen, this is what my employer, quote unquote, told me, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And if you have a problem with that, then we're going to have to point the finger back at whoever is making the false accusation. And who would that be?
The government.
No,
No,
it's
the employer.
the employer.
Oh, the employer.
That's why people suing the IRS always lose, because they have joined the improper party. You see what I mean? So, a golden rule of like, you know, life is, don't falsely accuse anybody of anything, right? And if somebody falsely accuses you, then point their finger back at them. That's it, right? And and if you watch, hold on, let me go to my channel. If you watch some of these, for example, watching this one here, notice of intent to levy. That's one of my friends. This is a real story. One of my friends got a notice of intent to levy letter from the IRS. They said they were going to levy his bank account. So what we did, and the letter is in here. The letter is in here, so you can cut and copy and paste if you want. Here, I actually do this.
Yeah, right. Isn't that?
I thought she was going to say snap it.
Here's a form letter that's basically copied into the description, right? You say what happened, why you disagree with the IRS, why you think the IRS is in error, and how do you want to cooperate and fix this, right? And then you give them notice and demand. Okay, now you're on notice that I'm not the one at fault. Somebody's falsely accusing me, and I demand that basically you fuck off. And also, if you don't fuck off and I get harmed as a result, then what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to bring in my quote-unquote employer, and I'm going to sue him or her, and I'm going to join you, the IRS, as a co-plaintiff or as a defendant. So which one do you want to be? You know what I mean? So there's no way for them to screw you because you're doing the right thing, all right? There's no evasion here going on. We are doing something absolutely lawful. That's it. They shouldn't be stealing from us. That's the original problem, right? Okay. Any other questions or whatever we're doing here? Yo.
So, I guess I'm a little, just got struck in the side of the head with some lightning news. Would we say that this is like an intentional deception through the federal government to the masses of people?
100%.
Are you surprised?
Well, that's not what
Right.
that's the easiest part of the
What? At this level, as long as it's gone on, I think I am a little surprised.
Okay, let me
That's
tell
how
you.
they got so big and overbloated, I guess.
Well, I can, now a lot of things kind of make sense too.
Yeah.
And the Federal Reserve, 16th Amendment, it was all kind of one.
Yeah.
By the way, that was one of the reasons among many for World War II. The taxes, all right? The reason for the taxes, or World War II, one of them, is that as they expanded the money supply, they went to war in order for that money supply to be, paid on. And when the military industrial complex geared up, guess what everybody did? They went to work for the government. And what did they get from the government?
government service,
Wages.
money,
W-2s, W-4s, 1099s, etc. All that shit came into play during World War II. And guess what? All the alpha males at the time, where were they?
Fighting the
They
war.
were fighting the war. So they weren't fighting at home where they should have been, because when they got home, they saw this new stuff. And they're like, what the fuck, But they didn't know what to do with it. So since World War II, the whole system has been scanned from the bottom up, they paid for college, right? You got the GI Bill. One of the most popular careers to go into was law and accounting, and this kind of stuff that just sucks us in even more. Yeah.
So, can you explain how the W-4, W-2, I-9s, and all that stuff works? How did that ever get to the private sector as well? Because I've been working for employer companies my whole life, the last 12 years, and they always give me the I-9, W-2, all that stuff.
That started World War II, and that just continued after the war. It's a continuation.
It's like masks, they just don't stop.
But you said it was the government, but it spread to private employers then as well?
Well, everybody thought it was their thing to do. I mean, you're fighting a fucking war, and the government asks you to fill out a little form. You're gonna say no? Think about it.
So right now, what should I be doing as far as my job?
All right. So here's what I would do.
Nice segue.
Yeah, right. So I gotta go. What am I gonna do?
Right? W-4 instructions. When you get a W-4 instruction, and you get one of these, right? What you usually get is one page. You see it stops right here. Do you ever get the other three? Hardly. If ever, right? In fact, sometimes you don't.
I suppressed all the memories of all the fucking text.
But right here, you see this? See this? Exemption from withholding. I'm not gonna read this, but read this carefully and do exactly what it says, and you'll be exempt, right?
Or go online. Pete Hendrickson has a zillion videos. He's got a ton of videos. It's frustrating because they intentionally made a maze. So trying to get us out of the maze seems like that's so complicated, but it's really not. It's just a matter of kind of which aisle you go down in, and you can there's some variations in how people get out of this as well. So you know what I mean? You can kind of, some people have different angles of how they approach it, but the basic concept is
More
it's all
than most,
bullshit.
yeah.
So we all know people, including my good friend Jason, who have gone to jail for tax-related things, and people have been convicted of tax evasion. What would you say to them? They just did it wrong?
They did it wrong, not because they did it wrong, because the operation of law was incorrect. They blamed the wrong person. If they just went in and sued their employer, guess who would have the onus of producing documents?
And also, we have to admit that federal court system's a complete joke.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
that's
if
another
you
thing
get
why-
to the
yeah.
courts, you've gone too far, is what I'm saying. But let's look at.
But there's so many people that are already doing it. Yes, some people are going to get nipped off. Like maybe I will. I don't care because it's well enough in my mind to get all the Wally World people and all the Target people, and you know what I'm saying, like all the blue collar people, that's what's gonna get us moving to where we wanna go. Like, I know you're big on the whole, secession thing, I've heard from people, but
This is the real secession.
the real secession comes down to,
Yeah.
screw you, I'm done. I don't wanna say, I
Paperwork
just saw
session.
$400 million they skimmed off the top in Ukraine for diesel fuel.
Yeah.
It's the whole little scam they got going. I mean, the numbers are insane, and that's just for diesel. Like, we're in such a illusion that it just takes us to stop. Because then, look, if you have extra 4, 5, 6, 10 grand a year, think about what you could do with that in your local towns.
We can get another
School-
100 Jasons elected to the state house.
Well, but no, but even for people on, let's say, the left side of the spectrum, though, you want money for your schools? We have money for days. There's so much more we have by getting them out of the mix, and that's the key thing I want to focus on. It's not a get rich quick thing. That's not the angle. It's an angle of keeping money local thing. If that makes sense. That's
Keeping what you've made.
Yeah.
Exactly, but I'm saying you have to invest in your town if you don't want your town to be a shithole. And it's not just about money, it's about time, it's about just being.
You're right. That's a great way to get the lefties on board.
Oh, that's what I'm working on.
Well, so the tax evasion thing, like where people are filing thinking they owe, and then falsely reporting.
Yes,
like
yes.
say they make 100. Is that what you're referring to? Like somebody
Some
makes
didn't file at all.
200,000. They didn't file at all.
Yeah.
But what I'm assuming part of it is the lawyers arguing not from this. You're not going to get a lawyer to argue this for you.
No, Frank, it's even simpler. What it comes down to is you have Wally World saying to the IRS, he's a taxpayer, and now you got to be like, whoa, no, I'm not. That's the key thing, is you have false accusations being made against you that if you don't refute them,
Right.
they stick.
You gotta,
That's the key thing you got to remember.
so a taxpayer in the IRC is defined as one who is subject to the tax. Now, first of all, that sounds like a
Circular.
Circular logic kind of deal.
right?
Yeah.
Why is a taxpayer one who is subject to the tax? Give a logic. I figured it out. The taxpayer is subject to the tax because somebody pointed the finger at him. That's what made them subject. You see what I mean?
Just the accusation.
The accusation, the finger of accusation. That's why thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, right? Now let's look at some poor fuck in 413 Nunalock Road in Westfield, Mass. Works at Wally World, makes 31K a year, right? Gets 7 grand taken out from his income tax, right? So what do? Well, you see that yellow thing that's circled up there? Let's take a closer look. It says the information is being furnished to the IRS if you are required. Yeah, you see that word? If? Yeah. If you are required to file a tax return, and if this income is taxable and you fail to report it, then you'll get in trouble. Those are 2 big ifs, right? So what you do is you get this form 4852 to correct your W-2s, right? And you put down 0, and then you put how much state income was withheld, how much Social Security and Medicare and all the other bullshit was withheld, and then you write them a little note and you say, listen, I didn't perform any service, and I denied that I had an employer-employee relationship. No payment was received, which is remuneration for services, but the other numbers are true, and I want those numbers back. And that's how you do it. Yeah, that's on part 1, by the way. It's on my videos.
All right, Lou, you've already questions up. Anybody else have questions?
So is there?
Hold on. You're.
Okay,
Anybody
sorry.
else have
Your friend could be
have
saying
questions?
also for someone.
All right. You guys are freaking flyers. You're up front.
I've been called worse.
So, I'm a civil engineer,
Okay.
and my company does a lot of work with New Hampshire DOT, which is a government.
Yeah.
So we gave the BlackRock example, but does that apply for my company where we work on projects that have federal money for the New Hampshire DOT? Then that's taxable income, federal income, right?
It's taxable with respect to your company, the company whom you work for.
So they
Well,
have to pay federal.
Right,
not-
they have to pay the tax on the federal income they received. However, when you received that money, that was not money belonging to the United States. That was money belonging
My
to
company.
your company. So they are a private thing. Yes, sir.
I heard somebody mention earlier in this presentation about Social Security. Does that tax fall on the same guidelines as everything else?
Social Security, FICA, Medicaid.
That was my question, because as a reminder
Yeah,
of the year,
sure.
no, I'm serious. They consider it totally separate. They say federal
It's not,
tax,
it's all
Social
one.
Security, and
There's
like
case
a
law
whole
on
thing
that.
either.
I don't know if you want to get into that, but Social Security is actually a tax. There is no trust fund.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
scam.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
There's no difference. It's just an extra few percentages that they're trying to steal, that's it.
Okay, so in the meantime, we're 60,
yeah.
and we're going to be hopefully getting our social security.
Especially all that big money we put storing up.
Been stolen from
Those
you.
dollars are sure worth a lot.
Right, so if we stop paying it now, what happens?
That's
You know,
a valid
what-
question. I thought you still accumulate all the purchasing that you.
I mean, we've done more than our 40 quarters, obviously.
I would say they owe what they owe you, plus damages for lost amount that you could be investing in.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
That money could have been
Nice.
And
5, 10 times bigger.
But-
And then I work for,
But even
nursing
better.
home.
But even better. If you want to take that question, forward it to me as your rep. Now, oh no, sorry, not your rep. I'm sorry. But as a rep, I can forward it. That's the game I want to play is put them on the record of what's really going on, and they won't, and which is good because then you can kind of just. So yes, but ask questions, send them to me, and we'll figure it out. And besides, we have the whole Lost Horizons community, or just there's a lot of people on this that you wouldn't think. Just look at the stats. How many people are filing returns? Like it keeps dropping every year. It's pretty amazing. You start looking at the numbers, something's going on. I think that's also why you've heard the talk about the consumption tax. They're getting rid of the federal income tax. Remember some
right,
rebel
because actually
Republicans?
the consumption will be legal, the federal is not.
Because
They're
they're-
trying to get out
I
of
And
it.
think
sales
they
tax
know
you can't get out of.
They're
Right.
losing their grip.
Right.
They're losing their grip right now, and they're trying to formulate how they're going to pull it off.
Right, which I actually was supporting that, now you make me
No,
wonder.
anymore.
No, don't get
No,
us.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want this tax.
Can you speak to your resolution and what was the opposition legislature about simply asking the IRS questions?
Just they're scumbags. Yeah, it's just, these people are scared. People, when you start talking, I had a thing to require the IRS to answer 3 specific questions. Where's the word income defined in the code? It's not. Is the average American who's not liable? I'm sorry. Is the average American who exchanges labor for money liable for the federal income tax? You're not. That's the key thing. It's labor. You know. And the third was why have numerous IRS commissioners, congressmen? You probably have quotes all over the place. Everybody always says it's voluntary. They'll say it over and over and over. It's a voluntary tax. That's how they get around it. It's like
I've heard the term, and I
you
thought,
gotta
what's voluntary?
invite. You have to invite the devil in. That's how this whole system is. We're in a big, fighting evil stuff going on. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
just one facet. And I mean, we could talk for hours about other stuff. But that's the key thing is you have to walk into and accept a lot of this, the BS they put on you.
Jason, I can speak about the specific. So I'm on the committee that heard his bill. When it comes in, you'd be surprised how lazy a lot of these people at the State House are. So it came in, there was a lot of whereases. So it basically outlined everything that you wanted to ask the IRS. And leadership came in and they were just like, don't vote for anything that has a lot of whereases that you don't agree with every part of those
Oh,
whereas.
that's sad.
So that was kind of basically the guidance from leadership.
Was it retained or something, or?
No, it was died. The committee.
I got
ICL
60 votes
The
on the House
executive
floor.
orders for COVID all had whereases
A
up
bunch
the
of
wazoo.
whereases.
It got 60 votes in the House? That's
On the
great.
record,
Yes.
I got a roll call, yeah.
Yeah.
Should we all pressure our people to vote in favor of it? Because
No, the next step, well, are you done? I don't want to cut you off. All right, real quick. What I want to get down to is where you had the no-no lane or no-no left road and all that. I think this is the angle I think we need to be pursuing. As people in here, okay, yeah, it's great. You get your 10 grand back from the IRS. You get your 5 grand back. Everybody kind of walks out their bag of money. But what's next? And I think it's bringing more people in because we're not selling anything. It's not a Ponzi scheme. This is more if you're free. That means there's $5,000 less going to some phony government program to do some creepo stuff or going to Ukraine or whatever.
Yeah.
And also, I think it starts sending warning shots across the bow of the powers that ought not be that we got a problem here. This is not just 1 or 2 people. This is starting to get a little bit. So anyway, I want to work through mega corporations because I think that'd be the easiest place to crack. Because you have 5 people at one Wally World do this, they get to the point like, okay, it's just easier to kind of cut ties than to go to bat for the IRS. You know what I mean? How absurd it is. Why are they going to go to war for the IRS? There's no benefit in that. So, well, they get a lot of subsidies, so that's a whole other issue. But if people would be interested in pursuing that angle, that's what I would like to talk to people about. Maybe get some flyers made up, or more like palm cards, something semi-portable. But just go into a store, you go to the cashier, drop it on the counter, and walk out if you don't like talking to people. Who cares? I know me, if I got something that says I can save all this money, I would be looking into it, and I think having like a state rep or two, I don't know if Tom wants to co-sign something, but having reps on there gives it legitimacy. And I think it'll give it necessary momentum to kind of kick it past that initial.
Put the presidential seal on it.
Let's do it. No, but I think that's it. Does anybody have any other ideas, questions, concerns, comments? Has anybody's position changed entirely since seeing this, or everybody's kind of in the gray zone?
I've been moved a little bit from you guys are wackos to maybe you guys are not total wackos.
Second.
I don't think you guys are wackos, number one.
I
Number
know
two-
somebody that's done this, and I thought,
Yeah.
how can it be true? They did it.
Yeah.
So hearing what you're saying, just
Well, now you know
confirms
another
it.
guy. I just got the angry letter, but we're gonna have fun with that. That's fine. So,
But I just gotta ask a question. I'm a bookkeeper. I oversee 4 nursing homes, which oversees payroll. So I wonder how I can just help with the change as they hire people, what to say, what to do, where is.
Let's stay in touch. Let's also.
Well, not only do you, not only should you do that, but you actually have an affirmative duty now that you.
Right,
know what's
I've never,
going on.
Yeah.
and we fill it out, we give them the whole,
So-
W-4, so they do get the whole paperwork.
So you can
Just
show
so-
them on the second page where they're exempt.
Well, I don't specifically talk to these people, I talk to the payroll people or the HR people who hire these people.
well, we
You
get you a
have to
little.
talk to the president of the company or something.
Oh, yeah, then,
We
well,
get you a little,
I don't care if I
I
lose
don't
my
know.
job,
Well, we can give you a little secret
Right.
squirrel stamp, and you can start hitting the forms up with them and give them. I mean, that's what's gonna take is you gotta get information into people's hands. How you can do that is on you, but that's the key.
Maybe just give him like a QR code
Yeah.
with
Yes.
like to his.
Right, yeah.
Make a thing with a QR code and bam. Give it to
Right.
them.
Or stickers. I know a guy who likes putting stickers up.
Yeah. Look at that.
So with respect to your question there, if you approach the head of HR, the president of your company, and you tell them, listen, instead of taking deductions from your taxes by saying that you've paid wages, say that you've paid for labor in the same way that you've paid for products and things.
well, you are paying for labor.
Right, you are
I
paying
mean,
for.
you really are.
Right, but instead of saying you're paying wages, it says service
Oh,
remuneration
so they
for
need to
service.
say we're paying.
They admit it, they're admitting it on record, that's pretty ingenious.
So,
yeah.
so, I don't know how they would receive me telling them that.
But
Anyway,
no, you're being,
and I could
but it's
just,
not, it'll be a state representative saying that. I could send a letter to your company saying, hey, as person in charge of payroll, I want you to be aware of these facts, and then push that up the line. Who cares if I get calls from random people? I don't care.
right,
You know what I mean? Like, I get
Okay.
spam calls all the time, whatever. So that's, I think, the goal is use the government against the government when it's corrupt.
right.
Interposition, real fast.
Political
So,
judo.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Alien and Sedition Acts. They, like 1796 or whatever it was. So Washington's getting old, Adams comes, they want to make it a crime to criticize the federal government, because things are getting kind of shaky.
Yeah.
They also wanted to basically, extradite you, but I mean, what do you call that when you
Deport.
deport somebody, basically? So it was crazy. So Thomas Jefferson and John Madison got together. I'm sorry, James Madison. They got together and they had control over Kentucky and Virginia, respectively, as state legislatures. So they passed the Kentucky and Virginia resolution and said that the state will interpose itself between the federal government and the individual people to protect them from these bogus laws. And so other states were like, oh shit, and it just fell apart. And that's what it takes is, I get it, the whole secession thing, I get it, but it's not gonna look like that. It's not gonna look where a flag's gonna change. I just don't feel it's gonna be that way. It's gonna be much more subtle. It's just gonna be a matter of we're not paying it.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know how I went off on that tangent, but that was directed at somebody for something.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's just as far as what is it, goods or what is it, wages and services?
Yeah.
Is that like something I can look up in like Black's Law Dictionary?
Now, remember what I said?
Yeah.
Those words that are written in the Constitution have meanings that are specific to the Constitution. The definition of the words in the Constitution are not found in the dictionary. For example, the word carry, right? Y'all think y'all carry guns? It's totally not true. Look at the Constitution. It says the Congress shall have shall be able to carry forth the execution of the foregoing powers. And if you look at your state constitution, it says, or in Massachusetts it says, government shall be able to carry on the will of the people, to carry out the new constitution into effect, to carry out legal obligations, to carry out the duties of the public offices. What does the word carry mean? It means a duty of government. That's why you need a license to carry, but there is no license to bear arms. And that's how I'm fighting those guys down in Massachusetts.
But are you talking about the definition in the code of the word wages
Yeah,
and stuff like
yeah.
that?
I guess it's that's what you're saying is the definition of these terms is kind of
Specialized per chapter.
Yeah,
Terms
it's just
are-
you found enough
Yeah, every law
instances of
has
its
definitions,
use
but for a law,
but you found enough instances of its use in the law, in the original text, to deduce that, okay, this is the actual legal definition of the word. That's kind of
There's no legal definition.
Or
It's a
law-
constitutional definition.
constitutional
This
definition?
is- look,
Okay.
I made a video, there's like a few minutes here. Secrets of statutory law. That's one of those secrets. And it's here, number 3. The secret of statutory law here is that there are certain words that are not defined by the statutes because they are defined by the Constitution. And that's why they're not in dictionaries. You got to find the meanings according to the Constitution. For example, you will not find a statutory definition of the word arms, but you will find a statutory definition of the word firearms. Those are different things. An arm is defined by D.C. v. Heller as anything that a man wears for his defense. Right? A firearm is a regulable thing that's defined by its characteristics and use as things being carried. In other words, firearms are duty weapons. People don't know that. Like motor vehicles are in commerce. Motor vehicles are not the same as automobiles. See what I mean?
Well, let's break it up because I know some people probably want to go, and then you can ask questions up. Because this thing is
Well, it has to do with the service thing, because it's statutorily defined in New Hampshire law. And DHHS attacked my business, sent me the threatening letters. They were like, "We think you're operating an unlicensed facility. You know about it, right? And you're performing services." I said, "What services do you think I'm providing? What law do you think I'm breaking?" They didn't cite any. Eventually, with a bunch of these back and forth, they did send me, brought me to a hearing. It's on my channel. 7 minutes. I destroyed them. And they said, yeah, he's not, it's a statutorily defined thing. Services in New Hampshire are not what I provide. Yes, I provide a service to to people, to my clients, but it's not a legally defined service, just like it would be for this.
They can't define the word service.
Right.
Because you could just put them on the record and say, hey, listen, Mr. Whoever prosecutor, what's your definition of service? I guarantee you they can't
It's
give that word.
attached to if you're getting like state and federal funding.
Right.
And I don't.
Service means government service. End of story. Property means government property. Unless it's private property, they can keep it themselves.
well. Thank you everybody for coming. And yeah, if you have any questions afterwards, and if what Dave said, say
I just have a couple of quick announcements. First is last chance to join the 50-50 raffle. See David, come up here and handle that.
What's the raffle and what's the ticket cost?
The benefits of the raffle will go to the Concord Prickle, which is the second part of my announcement. This is, we're trying to set up for the Free State and for Liberty here in New Hampshire, a clubhouse here in Concord, for more meetings like this with your legislatures to try and help bring more freedom to the people of New Hampshire. So if you're interested in helping support a clubhouse here in New Hampshire, there's a sign-up sheet. I'll grab it here in a second. I'd love to have your name and way to contact you, phone number, email address. We're about to really form up the membership, and I'd just love to find out who out here might be interested. Those are my 2 announcements. Anybody else?
And I just want to say thank you to David for hosting this.
Of course.